Hello, everybody. My name is Jeanette Banashak,
And I'm Jan Lundy.
and we are co-founders and co-directors of the Spiritual Guidance Training Institute. And we've been talking about this notion of call when it comes to spiritual companionship, spiritual direction, spiritual guidance. And what specifically, Jen, I have a question. What specifically for you did it take for you to say yes to the call of being a spiritual director? What was your call like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's sort of multi-tiered. I'll try and keep it really simple. But one is that I was working in a community already where I was doing some companioning, some guiding, women's groups, women's circles. And there was something in me that said, you need to have more training to be able to deeply companion people on their spiritual journeys. Um, it's like a little bird landed on my shoulder and said, you don't ever mess around with anybody's soul or their spirit. So know what you're doing. And I started to look into some of those kinds of opportunities. Another thing that happened simultaneously is people started mentioning to me, have you ever heard of spiritual direction? Because I think you'd be really good at it. And that surprised me. It really shocked me. So I searched further. And once I did the research, it really felt like it was a call, like something in me had been read by others or read by the universe to say, now this is your time to do this kind of training to enhance what you're already doing in your work in the world. That would be mine.
Yeah. I was thinking about mine as well. And of course, there are some similarities with your story. But my whole family, many members of my family, including extended family, are in service professions. And they have a kind of training where they're doing counseling or pastoral counseling or psychotherapy, but none of them has spiritual direction as part of their practice. So I grew up in a family where it was very common for people to work in one-on-one situations or group situations to talk about life. And I went on my first silent retreat about 14 years ago now, and I met with a spiritual director for the first time because it was a directed silent retreat. And after that first session with my spiritual director, who became mine for the next 10 years, I had these thought like, how did she do what she did? How was she able to hold this kind of presence and hold my story with such care and such competence together? And so it was like a spark that kind of grew in me from then. And then I did an initial training on contemplative practices, kind of a foundational training. And that course that took 9 months, it blew my mind. And it was like nothing I had ever taken. It was like no schooling I had ever taken. But I wasn't quite ready to be a spiritual director after that course. I needed some years to pass, and I needed to do some other things professionally before I would be ready. I think how I would describe it is spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. But it was that first session that I had 14 years ago that really gave me the spark. And then maybe it took 4 or 5 years before I began the training.
That's a great story. Yeah. And I appreciate how you said you took your time. You discerned.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
often have that with people who have found the Spiritual Guidance Training Institute too, that they find us and they read the website forwards and backwards, and then it takes many months or a year. Sometimes it really takes discernment. And sometimes there's a deep knowing right away, also a recognition of self.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of call we didn't mention, which I think is worthy to throw out here, is some people actually feel a call from God, the divine, the sacred,
Yeah.
a real inner propulsion, that deep, deep call and knowing to be of service in this way. And so to acknowledge that some people actually have that as well. And so it's like
You
there's
reminded me of, yeah. Well, you reminded me of when I was 9 years old. And I think I had that call from the divine. And it was a commitment that I made to be in service, whatever that looked like. So at the time, of course, I didn't know what spiritual direction was, but I made a commitment in front of a community and my family.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, wonderful. And it served you all of your life. So, you know, if there are any of you out there that have had similar experiences, you know, to Jeanette and I, and you'd like to talk about that sense of call, we're here to talk with you about that, to see if SGTI might be a good fit for you, the training that we offer. And we're doing that process consistently through the year, but especially in the spring and in the early summer for our fall gathering, our fall cohort. So we invite you to listen deeply and to think about this call if you've had one, and to perhaps step towards SGTI as one of the places that could help you make that call a reality. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.